All right, Joel Gausten here from joelgausten.com. For this interview, I'm joined by somebody who was kind enough to meet up with me at midnight his time. So I appreciate that, and hopefully I'll make it worth his while to be joining me at such a late hour. It's my great pleasure to welcome Josh Hight. Josh, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joel. No problem. Nice to see you.
Yeah, likewise. And we have a lot to get into. For the benefit of the viewer, I want to talk a little bit about your past work and then get into certainly why we're connecting now, which is what you're doing in the here and now musically. But for those viewers who may be unfamiliar with Josh, he was previously with a band called Detachment Kit, fantastic Chicago band, initially based in Chicago, put out
Yep.
some stellar records in the early 2000s that I would highly recommend. From there, you went on to a solo project called IRONS, had done that for a bit, and currently you're about to release your debut EP under the name PINES. The new EP is called In His Wake. It comes out September 5th on vinyl as well as a digital stream. And before we get into that, I just want to say, as a listener, I'm blown away by this release. It's a beautiful record, and I've been listening to it quite a bit here. So thank you for
Oh, wow.
bringing it into the world. It's
Thank you.
and to take you behind the curtain a little bit, I get a lot of music submitted to me here, and not all of it gets listened to, number one, because there's so much coming in. Um, and few releases get past the first song, just because if it doesn't hit me, there's 80 to 100 others that might. But when I put your EP on, I streamed it, 4 or 5 times in a row
Wow.
at first listen. Gorgeous, beautiful sound you've created for this. It's almost difficult to describe what it is. If I were to kind of put, some creativity behind a description, I'd say maybe a shoegaze band doing a soundtrack for a Lynch film.
Yeah, cool. I like that. Yeah.
Cool, cool. So, you've been around for a bit. You've done different things, and obviously you've done music under your own steam in a solo capacity in the past with Irons. What ultimately led you to pursue this new thing with Pines? Doing this new direction under your own steam.
Uh, it's interesting. This project was kind of Richard Norris was uh, the catalyst for this. We met in London at a like a film event, and a friend of ours introduced each other because we live near each other. We both live in Lewes, which is in East Sussex on the coast of England. And we got on really well. And it turns out that we live like 3 to 5 minutes away from each other. So it was quite serendipitous. And we had a lot in common. And I'm a photographer and a director and work mainly in kind of fashion art worlds. And right away, I had this idea to work with Richard, kind of scoring some film stuff that I'd been doing, and we just got on really well. And then he came to me and said, "Do you want to start a band?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." It was let's do it. I don't think he had no idea that I could sing or play guitar or really have like much musical ability. I don't think so. It was kind of a pleasant surprise for him. And then quickly the song sort of became more mine, and and he was really working with me in a production perspective to kind of open them up and um, tighten them. So so that's kind of how that happened. It wasn't anything. I mean, I thought I was probably never really going to make music publicly again. So he kind of dug me out of retirement.
Interesting. And for the viewer, I'm sure the name Richard Norris is familiar because Psychic TV's come up quite a bit on this
Hmm.
channel. over the years. And of course, Richard worked with Genesis, really during the Acid House era of psychic TV. Some would argue some of the finest work under the psychic TV banner was released with Richard's involvement. So you're right, a very serendipitous meeting that yielded something pretty fantastic. How long have you lived in England at this point?
Lived in England for 20 years, almost 20 years.
Oh, fantastic. Uh,
Yeah.
certainly a different environment than Chicago, um, and Detroit, which is where you're initially from.
Yeah.
Um, what has it been about England that has remained a place where you continue to work from and live from?
Uh, I originally came here to escape with some, I guess, my demons in Chicago. I loved Chicago. But I was in my late 20s, maybe not making the best decisions, kind of didn't see where I was headed. Had an opportunity to move to London, had some friends here. I moved and went to school and studied graphic design, um, which was okay. I had no real intention of staying. I was just kind of like flying by the seat of my pants, really. Um, I met Glenn Johnson from Piano Magic, became a really close friend of mine, and sang on some of those records. And that was kind of music I was making when I first moved here. Didn't know what I was going to do career-wise. Met my now husband, and then I stayed, and things sort of fell into place. And it's very much my home now, especially here in Lewis, where I live, which is more countryside. It's really beautiful and quiet.
Fantastic. One thing I love about the EP is lyrically it says a lot. There's a lot of things you're working through, working out, expressing in the music. Um, what were the primary influences regarding the lyrical perspective on this EP? What were some of the driving forces that led you to go in the directions you did?
Um, I tend to write lyrics to songs in like a more of like a Brian Eno kind of way where I just sort of make sounds and hum and then listen to them back and then see if things sort of stand out. And what was sort of coming out of these songs was a bit of catharsis. And it ended up being like quite intense, some of it. I've never really written songs that way lyrically. I spent I spent a lot of time writing them, but it was very easy. It's kind of needed to happen. There's songs about grieving and getting older and looking back at sort of not so trustworthy relationships as a young person. But then also more fantasy-based things um, about, you know, going somewhere to die, or like living your life knowing you're going somewhere to die, or uh, evoking song to declare the end of the world, and this kind of like, yeah, trance music, I guess. Not trance music, but it's a very trance state that a lot of the lyrics came to me, and so yeah.
Yeah, to me, a lot of it has a great cinematic quality to it. It begs to be road trip music for
Oh,
me.
cool. Yeah.
Um, and a lot of it is very reflective and it falls in the category of what I would call 3 a.m. music.
Yeah.
It's the best time to listen to music, of course.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just, of course, the production is stellar as well. As an introductory piece, what you're doing now, it works on many levels, and you also do have some collaborators and guests on the recording, who I certainly want to mention. You've got Andy Bell from Ride and Oasis,
Yeah.
Emmett Kelly, Rebecca Dottie Cockrum. I mean, it's a great, great cast of characters.
Yeah, I'm very happy with.
How did they become involved in what ultimately became this EP?
It really organically. Andy is a very good friend of Richard's. Um, and when we first started working on, I think Uriel was the first song that we sort of finished, he said Andy would really love this and sound really great on it, which he doesn't play on, but it was a really kind of like instant moment that Richard said Andy would love this and I'd love him to play on it. And I'm a massive Ride fan, so I was very excited about that. And then when we gave Andy the tracks, he really responded to in his wake, and I think just really kind of makes that song special. It gives it like a lick, which I never really thought it could have. It's kind of interesting to hear his interpretation of a treatment. Emmett is an old friend, a very close friend. We've lived together. We lived in a house with Leroy Bach from Wilco for a while in Chicago. And then Emmett has gone on to do so many brilliant things. And when he comes into London, he comes and stays with me. And I always want to be making music with Emmett. Since he's like such a fantastic musician, but a really great sounding board and friend, and he's great. Dottie, who sings on Uriel, I actually photographed her band Deary for a job. And I started to like listen to their music and thought, well, this is amazing. Like she's got such a beautiful voice. They've got a very like kind of like curved, slow dive kind of thing going on that's really beautiful. And I asked her if she wanted to sing on a track, and she said yes. And now I'm doing photos for their upcoming album. So it's kind of a nice connection I've made through this EP.
Excellent. So this is hopefully the first of many you'll be doing in this direction. Um, where are you in terms of perhaps taking this material out and doing it live, not only at home, but Lord knows, maybe even bringing it stateside at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to play it in the States. Chandra, who has heads the label Semaphore, he's in North Carolina, and I've got family there as well. So that's definitely on the cards, you know. I just right now I'm trying to figure out how I want to represent them live. Um, I've got some really good friends here that are in bands that in Lewis that are fantastic. That I'm talking about maybe putting a backing band together. But something simple like like guitar and bass and maybe like a backing track, but just to give it a bit of atmosphere. I also can like play them acoustically, but I haven't really settled on that sound yet there because the record isn't very acoustic. It's very electric, so and has a lot of tonality. So I don't know, but yeah, it's gonna happen. Just not sure what the how or in what iteration.
And you mentioned earlier that you had reached a point where you weren't sure if you would be pursuing another musical endeavor.
Hmm.
Um, was that primarily because of career interests, or was there other things at play that sort of made you want to take a step aside from that for a bit?
Oh, it's such a that's a good question. I wanted nothing more to like be making music for a living and like have that be my life. It was kind of all I really knew for a very long time was bands and being in bands and the touring circuit and like just kind of I really loved that. Um, and with irons, it never really, I don't know, it just never really took off. And I don't know if that's because it was mainly just me not having the support or uh, trying to do too many things. Um, so yeah, just kind of like let it drift away and never stopped making sounds, but I don't know if you'd call it like um, songs, but I was always making things. So this really came out of nowhere um, in my mind, which is, and then suddenly it has a little bit of interest, which is really I feel really grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It really knocked me over, listening to it. And like I said, I love when that happens because the volume to knocked over ratio isn't always equal in
Gosh,
what I do. So
I bet.
to get something like that where it's instantly, oh yeah, this is up my street.
I really appreciate that. I'm similar. It takes, and I know what it's like. You listen to one song and you kind of like, okay, I understand what this is.
Yeah, yeah. If it's half a song, even if I get to
Yeah, yeah, that,
time
yeah,
next.
yeah.
So I really think, I've listened to your past work as well. I really do think you've arrived at some place special with this.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, really. As much as I enjoy the earlier stuff, one of the great things that I get to do is talk to people who have a history, but who are obviously moving things forward in the here and now. Which kind of leads me to sort of an off the beaten path question, because I know you work in multimedia.
Mhm.
I'm a writer by trade, um, and I've been just inundated with reading articles and dealing with things professionally regarding AI,
Mhm.
which obviously touches various aspects of your creative world.
Mhm.
Um, so to kind of take a 10,000-foot view question and maybe distill it down a little bit, what are your overriding thoughts on the presence of AI, not only in music, but in a visual degree, and where we're seeing this constantly pop up everywhere?
God, it's so complicated, isn't it? It's I've got really mixed feelings about it. And I think that that's maybe the most, and I'm trying to educate myself more and more on how to use it and not be a slave to it. Um, and I've always loved technology. Um, I love the ability to kind of figure something out and then use that to like push me forward or make me think more. And I think personally, using AI in the way of like helping communication or I don't know, structuring things maybe a bit better, recipes. I think like that kind of like really pedestrian way of using it is nice, but that's not really what we're kind of talking about on the larger scale of things. It is frightening when you get things like H&M just completely overriding the need for photographers or models or just people in general. So in that industry, I think it is quite scary. In music's slightly different. I think that people have a higher bullshit detector. Um, maybe, I don't know, hopefully. I haven't heard any AI music that I think is good. But I know that, you've got a lot of like AI mastering, for instance, or tools at your disposal. Um, I don't know, it's really tricky. I think that the government is, especially in the UK, is adopting it too quickly. And they really look quite sloppy and naive. Um, but I think it's here to stay. It's just a matter of how we as consumers, how we choose to um, uh, hero things. I mean, I think like it's nice to support people and it's nice to buy physical things. I think there's going to be a renaissance of that for sure. Print media, um, tangible things. I think in the fashion world, people want to purchase things that are made by people, if they're spending a premium on something. So I think there's a big line in the sand.
Yeah, yeah, I tend to agree or tend to hope
Mm,
that will ultimately be the case. I suppose the big question is, will people be able to decipher between the two? You know, the
yeah,
technical human created element and the AI version. It's getting increasingly scary and increasingly sneaky with
yeah,
how AI is becoming. So, um, yeah, it's definitely an interesting time.
I
Um,
think so.
I can tell you that I've heard quite a bit of AI music because it's an
Yeah,
interest of mine. You need to know what you fear, right? So
yeah, yeah,
I'm looking into some of these things, and yeah, it's a lot of it's very passable. If
yeah,
you're passively listening to the music, you go, oh, it's very effective. The choruses shimmer and they've got, they're hitting all the right beats, but it's so cookie cutter paint by numbers.
yeah,
If you're into music, if you're a musician or producer, you're going to know what it is, just because it's so surface level.
yeah.
Where will it be in the future? Lord only knows. Um, but yeah, interesting topic for sure. Um, but going back to organic people creating organic things, I did want to ask a question about, your earlier work, because the first time I heard Detachment Kit, what I tend to do is I like to listen to music cold. I don't read the press release. I don't read the liner notes. I figure the music's going to tell me what it needs me to know. Then I can color it with the other information. But when I first heard some of your earlier stuff, my immediate thought was that was recorded at Albini's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Right
absolutely.
off the bat, I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, Chicago makes sense, but that's Albini.
yeah.
Um, obviously forever, a regarded and beloved figure, Chicago and beyond. What stands out for you when you think back at your time recording in that environment?
We saved up like every penny that we had to record for like just a few days, in electrical audio. And our good friend Greg Norman was an engineer there who's amazing. And yeah, it was great. I mean, it was the first time I'd ever been in like it's not the first time I've been in a recording studio, but it's the first time I'd been in like what I had considered like a real professional recording studio. And I don't know, it was great. We were so young and really had to like focus on nailing everything because we didn't have much time. So that was always kind of ticking in the background. But I can remember watching like Reservoir Dogs or something with Albini, and he's just kind of mooching about like while we were recording, and he showed me this A string guitar. It was like all A strings, and it was Thurston Moore had made it. And he just like he took it out of this closet and he was like, "Yeah, it's all A strings. Everyone tries to play it. No one ever can." They just like put it back. I just lo loved that like the the kind of easiness of that studio once you're inside. I think it has this mythos around it, but then when you're there, everyone is so kind and just kind of nerdy and it's really exciting. And the sound there is just so incredible.
Mm, absolutely. I was planning to record there prior to his passing. I
Mhm.
was still in that saving up phase, as the other musicians were, because
Yeah,
it's worth every penny, but
yeah,
a lot of pennies involved in that
yeah,
situation. So,
absolutely.
yeah, sadly, it didn't come to fruition. But those records that stuff still sounds great. Um, there's a life and a timeless quality to the stuff he did. Is like I said, instantly recognizable when Albini. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, it's that kind of that drum sound is like unmistakable. Um, yeah, we recorded in that in Studio B, and it is a drum studio. It's
Yeah.
one giant cannon.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you got the EP coming out in a few days. What can you tell me or what you have planned at this point for the rest of 2025 and perhaps even a bit further down the road with this project or otherwise?
Uh, I'm working on more music. Definitely gonna try to do a kind of bookend EP to this one, with the hopes of putting out a full length. That's exciting with more special guests. Uh, Also working on getting some people together to do some remixes, which is exciting, which I'm a big fan of. Um, I have a newspaper that I put out every quarter that's like a photographic newspaper called Idle Pages. So I've been working on that, which is exciting, doing some traveling. Um, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline, all creative and exciting.
Very cool. Well, I look forward to, hearing what comes next and, following the progress of this or any other project you have further down the road. And, honestly, when I started the conversation, I told you how much I loved the EP. And, another way I rate music is I think to myself, is this record going to pull me back after 5 years' time?
Mhm.
And I can say wholeheartedly, this EP is one of those records.
Oh wow, Joel, thanks. That means a lot.
Yeah, I really mean that,
Mm.
I'm building a relationship with the music, and that again, that's increasingly rare with what I receive. I receive a lot of great music, but a lot of it is great, and then a month later, it's lost to the shifting sands of time.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's a timeless quality to this record, and I really encourage the viewer to check it out. And this video will include a ton of links for people to do just that and continue to check out this project. Again, the EP is called In His Wake. The project is called Pines. Comes out September 5th on 10-inch vinyl and digital download on Semaphore Records. Uh, Viewers, please check it out. Follow Josh's progress and all the links I'll be providing. And please come back. I'd love to hear what you do next, but of course,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great. Thanks, Joel.
yeah, it's my pleasure, and we'll definitely have to do this again soon.
For sure, please.